UCLA Law professor Sharon Dolovich discusses some of the misconceptions about the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision easing California's prison population by 40,000.
But the court said, look, having studied this issue, what we conclude is there are a number of steps that the California prison system, can take to reduce the overcrowding without endangering public safety. Now, this is a really important point because I worry that a major misconception of this opinion will be that as a result of Monday's decision, the California prison system is going to open its gates and the first 46,000 people are just going to walk right out, be they murderers or rapists or kidnappers or armed robbers or what have you. And in fact, that's not true at all. The court suggested, the panel suggested, having heard the testimony of a number of experts, that there were many ways that the population could be reduced without endangering public safety. So the four they mentioned were the diversion of low-risk offenders to county jails, home monitoring, and other community-based punishments, the increased use of good time credits, which is sort of code for giving well-behaved prisoners the benefit of their good behavior and letting out early, right, or granting parole to those prisoners who have shown by their good behavior in prison that they can live safely with others. So we have diversion of low-risk offenders, we have the increased use of good time credits. The other major one actually is what we think of as parole reform. And here it's worth knowing that the California parole system is an outlier in the rest of the country, in the sense that in almost every other state, if you're on parole and you violate your parole in a way that doesn't constitute another crime, you have you don't show up for a meeting with your parole officer, they come by your house and they can't find you, maybe you go out of the county without letting your parole officer know. In every other state, there are extra, or there I should call it community-based ways of punishing parole violators for their violation. In California, they send them right back to prison. So as a result, the reception centers where they do intake in the California prisons are typically extremely crowded. And in fact, this was one of the findings of the three-judge panel. They found that the medical care and mental health care in the reception centers was the worst quality anywhere in the system. And it's partly because those centers are so crowded with parole violators who may be doing 4 or 6 months. They might do their whole sentence in a reception center. They've now taken up space. They now need help, medical care, mental health care, that if we'd only found a community-based way to respond to their not showing up for their appointment, rather than putting them back in prison, it would have freed up space to provide more adequate care. So these are just examples of the kinds of things that the court suggested the California prison system might do to reduce its capacity, but it left it up to the California prison system. Now, other people might say, why don't they just build more prisons? So one thing to know about the past 20 years of these two cases is that very frequently you had the California Department of Corrections, you had the governor, you had the legislature saying, we're going to build more prisons. We hear you, federal courts, that our prison system is too crowded, we have too many people, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough treatment beds, we're crowding 50 sick people into a small space and having them infect each other while they wait to see the doctor. So we're just going to build more prisons. Unfortunately, building prisons is expensive. And there were many moments over the past decade in particular where legislative or even executive efforts to build more prisons just fell through because the money wasn't there. And that's one of the things that prompted the district courts in these cases to say, we have to strike a three-judge panel because all the evidence is that California, you're talking a great game that you're going to build more prisons, but there's no evidence that you're actually going to be able to do it.